Hello, everyone, and happy Independence Day. This year, 2026, in addition to commemorating the 250th anniversary of American independence, we commemorate the 200th anniversary of an extraordinary event, the deaths that day of former President John Adams and former President Thomas Jefferson, the two men really most responsible for the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. John Quincy Adams, the son of President Adams, was President of the United States at the time. And during the commemorations of July 4th in Washington, one of the issues that came up is should there be some kind of relief for former President Jefferson, who had squandered a fortune, was deeply in debt, and nothing much came of that. They would not know until 3 days later that Jefferson had actually died on July 4th. And this was taken as a signal event, a sign of providence. And even when they discovered, especially when they discovered that Jefferson had died shortly before 1 p.m. on July 4th, 1826, 50 years almost to the minute from the time Congress had approved his declaration. So this was really taken as a sign. Now, President John Quincy Adams left Washington as quickly as he could because he also knew his own father, at the age of 90, was in failing health in Quincy, Massachusetts. And when President Adams reached New York, word came to him from New England that John Adams had also died on July 4th. And when the details of this signal event emerged, it became even more striking. Jefferson had been in failing health for about a week before July 4th, and shortly before midnight on July 3rd, his final words were, he whispered when he regained consciousness for a moment, "Is it the 4th?" And those around him said, "No, not yet, but soon." And then he expired about 12 hours later. And in Quincy on July 4th of 1826, President Adams was immobile. He was sitting in a chair in his study on the second floor of his home in Quincy, and he could hear the bells at noon signaling the anniversary of independence. And sometime before 5 o'clock, he was heard to say his final words, "Thomas Jefferson still survives." And he died, not knowing that Jefferson had also died on that same July 4th. So this was all taken as a signal event, Providence once again showing its hand to the Americans. Now, Jefferson and Adams also left us other last words, to which they had given more thought. Both men were invited to attend ceremonies in Washington, D.C. The mayor of Washington had invited Jefferson and Adams to come for the 50th anniversary commemorations, along with Charles Carroll of Carrollton, the only other living signer of the Declaration of Independence. All three men, old and in poor health, had declined the invitation. President John Quincy Adams had gone to see, Mayor Roger Whiteman had brought the letters to him to show President Adams what these three venerable sages had to say in declining the invitation. And President Adams noted that Jefferson's letter, written in Jefferson's own hand, reflected the cast of his mind, which made him such a towering figure. And Jefferson's letter on the 50th anniversary of American independence is well worth reading. Jefferson begins, of course, by apologizing for not being able to attend the 50th anniversary of American independence and talking about this journey. It adds sensibly to the sufferings of sickness to be deprived of it, of a personal participation in the rejoicings of that day. But acquiescence is a duty under circumstances not placed among those which we are permitted to control. He said it would have given him particular delight to join once again with that small band of worthies, the remnant of those who had joined on that bold and doubtful election we were to make for our country between submission and the sword. And then to have the consolatory fact that our fellow citizens, after 50 years, after half a century of experience and prosperity, continue to approve the choice we made. May it be to the world what I believe it will be, to some parts sooner than others, the signal of arousing men to burst the chains and to assume the blessings and security of self-government. The form which we have substituted restores the free right to the unbounded exercise of reason and freedom of opinion. All eyes are opened or are opening to the rights of man. The general spread of the light of science has laid open to every view the palpable truth that half of mankind, that the mass of mankind have not been born with saddles on their backs, nor a favored few, booted and spurred, ready to ride them at pleasure by the grace of God. These are grounds of hope for others. For ourselves, let the annual return of this day forever refresh our recollection of these rights and an undiminished devotion to them. Really a powerful statement from Jefferson about the importance of July 4th. Now, President John Adams was also invited by the town of Quincy to come to their July 4th celebrations, but he knew he would be unable to do so. So he was asked to provide some statement that could be made to the gathering. And Adams, after a long life engaged in the politics of separating the American colonies and making them into the United States, gave two words: independence forever. And the organizers said, "Will there be anything more?" And he said, "Not a word." So we have on July 4th, 1826, a reminder from John Adams and Thomas Jefferson about the importance of July 4th, 1776, and leaving it in our hands to continue the work which they thus far had so nobly advanced. So happy Independence Day and independence forever.